Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast talk show. It is week 10. Welcome back, Adam and Sky, fresh from his travels to Berlin to go and watch the game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. The best international game so far, and probably will be, Sky, did you think, in your opinion?
I think one of the best of all time. Was it that Saints Chargers 08 was a pretty entertaining one. This one we got overtime and loved it. Falcons, I thought they were going to nick it, but obviously Jonathan Taylor staking his MVP credentials once again.
Well, we got overtime last year as well.
What game was that? I've gone blank.
It was the Indianapolis Colts v the Carolina Panthers. It was the spark of Bryce Young.
Oh yeah, I sort of the only thing I remember to the Panthers is when the Patriots beat them in the Super Bowl.
Well, I remember it because it was freezing cold, and we were all like, "I just want this game to end." And then it went to overtime, and we're all like, "Oh, please don't take it to overtime! It's so cold up here in the Allianz Arena." What was it? What was the Olympic Stadion like as a venue?
I know this sounds really cheesy, but you could almost feel the history. Obviously, everyone knows what happened with the Olympic Games, Jesse Owens, a few other famous people knocking about there at the time. And also, the history of the 2006.
Just a few other famous people. I mean,
who
could he be referring to?
Just the other medalists.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The 2006 World Cup, obviously, as we know, I did take a photo and I felt a bit dirty doing it. It wasn't complete Materazzi, but he did a more Italian version of what I'm doing now for anyone watching the video. But that was the stadium, obviously, of that final. And, we're all big football fans, aren't we? But especially 06, I think it holds a big place in most people of our age's hearts, being like a mid to late teenager at that point. And probably not even being nostalgic. The last World Cup with, I'd say, a lot of superstar teams when you look at the French, Italian, Brazil side. So it was great to be there. And Fred, you would have loved it because you had sort of like the old marble, but then also the renovation. So I hope they do that with stuff like the San Siro. I think the Bernabeu's trying that, the new camp, just to keep that bit of that history, but still modernize it.
Yeah, keeping it alive. That sounds really. I mean, you missed off a key team who had a lot of superstars. Now it was England, but I mean, we came crashing out after what in this
the really
day
red card. Yeah.
Oh, we wouldn't have gone crashing out with the Frank Lampard goal.
That was 2010, but
was that 2010? I was thinking it was 06 for some reason.
06 was when Ronaldo winked at Rooney.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, what a winker.
Well, fond memories had. And for New York Giants fans, I'm not sure if it is fond memories had. Yesterday morning, the news coming that head coach Brian Daboll has indeed been fired. Second head coach of this season. Obviously, Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans was fired earlier this season, but now it's Brian Daboll's turn, fired by the New York Giants after their defeat to the Chicago Bears 24-20, a game in which they were comfortably in front for a large portion of it and then got crashing out again a second time. There's been a sort of a dramatic crash out by the New York Giants this season. Obviously, the Denver Broncos game just a couple of weeks ago, the Broncos came back in the fourth quarter and beat them as well. Rumor has it there was a lot of talk in the building and on the way home that was going to be Daboll's last game. And instead, they changed their mind and said they'd stick with it. Instead, they've now got rid of him after this game. He joined in 2022, only reached the playoffs once, and that was in his first year. And when you look back at it, actually, a lot of that season was led by one Saquon Barkley, who is now obviously at the Philadelphia Eagles and had that crazy season last season. And we had a lot of head scratching of why he went away and Daniel Jones stuck around. But obviously, something's going right for Daniel Jones now being in Indianapolis and with Shane Steichen instead. He did win head coach of the year that year as well. But since then, it's been, no winning seasons. His actual 61 games, 20, 40 and 1 is his record. Adam, straight away, you said this was just ridiculous and such a stupid thing to do by the New York Giants. And do you believe it's a stupid thing to do now at this current point? Or is it just in general you think this is a bad move for the Giants?
I think it's a complete waste of time if you want to take it purely from this season. It's not going to make any difference at all. if anything, you could probably argue they'd have got a higher pick in next year's draft if they kept him. So, it clearly wasn't working, was it? So I think I don't see what the benefit is. It's a little bit like I didn't really see what the benefit of sacking Brian Callahan was at the Titans at the time. I think that I kind of have a mindset very much where if you're going to go into a season with the guy, there's no benefit you getting rid of him halfway through that season. It never ends well. It never suddenly turns around or anything becomes great. You might get an instant impact of like one game and then it all falls away again. So I just don't see what the point is. From a long-term point of view, I think they were stupid to keep him. If this was how short the leash was in their mind, from what I've read or seen, it seems very much like they didn't want to get rid of him. At no point did they really want to get rid of him, but they've kind of been put into a position where they feel that they have to, because it's just not worked, is it? I mean, they're 2-8 and they're really struggling, but it's just that thing where it's like the stupidity of it is just what is wrong with these teams? Like, genuinely tell me what is wrong with these teams. They have head coaches that are struggling the year before, and they go and get a rookie quarterback, and the rookie quarterback plays about 6 or 7 games, and then they sack the head coach, and they think that that's going to be all right. Like, and it works with certain quarterbacks. They can cope with it. It's not a problem. I think an obvious example is Drake May. He's done really well. They got rid of their coach last year and he's done well. But the countless number of others where it doesn't work, with the Justin Fields, with the Trevor Lawrences, with the Bryce Youngs, and it just brings their development back so much. And then they end up taking so much longer to get to where they need to go, and to a certain extent sometimes they never get there because of it, and it's such a stupid thing to do. And then you've got the whole, we're going to keep the GM, and the GM's going to be in charge of bringing in the new head coach, and it's just like, yeah, that works really well, because now you're going to have a GM that's going to be under pressure, a brand new head coach, and if it doesn't work in the first year, what's the head coach going to go? Well, the GM gave me a load of rubbish. I just, it's mental. It's a bad organization making bad decisions.
Because if we look at Miami, for example, a team that we've all been going, McDaniels, it's very soon that he's probably going to be out the door. They go and get rid of their GM, Chris Greer, only the other week's guy. And a lot of people have been, Brian Daboll. Is it Brian Daboll? Is it Joe Schoen? Why is it going wrong? He did so well the first year, etc., etc. The recruitment's not been great. It's been very hit and miss. I mean, Evan Neal, he's been an absolute disaster. They get rid of Saquon over Daniel Jones. Okay, Daniel Jones is doing well at the Colts, but that was a decision that rocked everybody last year when Saquon had such an incredible season. They get rid of Xavier. They let Xavier McKinney walk. He's been one of the top guys at Green Bay. I think that everyone around the league said that letting Xavier McKinney walk is probably going to be a mistake. They draft in Malik Neighbors, fantastic. They go and get Cam Scarborough late down in the rounds out of nowhere, and that's Schoen's decision to do that with Brian Daboll's input. But then to defend Daboll, look at this season. Neighbors goes out for the year, an unavoidable injury. Cam Scarborough, complete freak injury, unavoidable. But then you look at the Jackson Dart stuff with what's it, 4 concussions he's had now this season. That's a scheme thing for me. That's a scheme thing that falls under the head coach jurisdiction. When we look at Giants in the big picture after these continual bad seasons since 2022 to 2025, is there more? Where's the blame really lie? Daboll or Schoen?
I think Schoen always gets a pass because you have contacts in the NFL, and obviously he was assistant on the Bills. And I think sometimes people do that. Whereas with Daboll, I think there's always been this lingering thing of, we know what the narrative's been, that one year that they made the playoffs, it was an easy schedule. Obviously, Daniel Jones has now gone and done well at the Colts, but there's still question marks there. I just think that obviously, like when you hear the news, you dig a bit deeper, and like Mike Kafka's now interim. He was under Andy Reid for a while at the Chiefs. We know Jackson Dart's been playing well. It just sort of stinks of like, we don't like him as our head coach anymore. Maybe, you know, as anyone would do in these type of jobs, I'm sure it happens all the time. I'm not saying Shun would have done this, but it's almost like, give me one more chance. Let's hire a new coach and see what happens, because there's good things in place. So really between now and the end of the season, I mean, Kafka will be the guy obviously to develop Jackson Dart still, hopefully, if the concussion's not too serious. James Winston,
just to slightly interrupt you, Kafka did also get interviewed in the offseason last year by Chicago and New Orleans for the head coaching job. So he has sort of entered that cycle of taking that. It's next
not like
step.
An Antonio Pierce situation on the Raiders where like he was only going to get the Raiders job. You said that perfectly. Like he's a guy who is known within circles. So maybe even the Giants are getting ahead of. Yeah, I can't remember what sort of protocols there are of, you know, how when you have to interview within a certain window, but maybe even that's part of the thought process. Because if they don't get him, then I think realistically, it's going to end up being a defensive guy. I mean, you see Belichick and Spagnola's names there. That's just because of the Giants' affiliations of years gone by. But even a guy like Vance Joseph, you know, he was 2 years, he didn't have the best record when he was the Broncos head coach. But you see what he's doing with the weapons on the Broncos now. But yeah, maybe Kafka, this is his chance. But I have to go back to what Adam said at the beginning. I think in the NFL, it is silly to get rid of a coach halfway through. We think it's bad enough in football sometimes. When people get let go halfway, you just think you're throwing it away. And in a league where it only runs from September through to December for some who don't make the playoffs, I don't get why you would do it unless you are sort of grooming Kafka for that job.
Well, this is, you know, the sixth head coach since 2016, and this is sorry. I usually completely forget to write who to credit when I find these articles, but I'm going to credit Mark Prusin, who wrote this article, I believe, for CBS. The headline being, the past few seasons have been nothing short of disappointing. Giants president John Mara and chairman Steve Tisch released a joint statement. We spoke this morning about the direction of our franchise on the field, and we've decided at this time it is in our best interest to make a change at the head coaching position. The past few seasons have been nothing short of disappointing and have not met our expectations for this franchise. We understand the frustration of our fans, and we'll work to deliver a significantly improved product. We feel like General Manager Joe Shun will remain and is heading up the search for a new head coach. The rest of Daboll's staff was kept in place. And Mara said, we feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus of talent, and we look forward to its development. Unfortunately, results over the past 3 years have not been what any of us want. We take full responsibility for those results and look forward to the kind of success our fans expect. Well, you've not taken responsibility for it, have you? Because it starts from the top down, John Mara. This is the sixth head coach since 2016. You've let decisions happen that we all blatant as NFL fans, and you know, us three are no NFL savants, believe you and me. That doesn't mean stop watching us or listening to us, because we do know what we're talking about. But it's pretty black and white to go, some of these decisions over the years have been poor. I'd have loved Andrew to have been on tonight, because I think as a Giants fan, he sees a lot of this perspective of it. But I do feel every time Andrew has brought the argument about the Giants stuff, he has seen it in a very positive pro light and tried to see the best of it. Unfortunately, us realists of this world have known this has gone from bad to worse. And there has been picks that they've made. Andrew Thomas was one at the time that didn't look like it was going to work out. Admittedly, it has worked out fantastically. But there has been several picks that have been terrible. The cornerback situation's never been really solved. They've picked the wrong players at the wrong times. They should have never extended Daniel Jones. We all knew that. But I feel like they were in a position after Eli. They didn't want to keep resetting, which a lot of franchises have done. And yes, it hasn't worked out. So I can understand a large section of that. They didn't want to be cash strapped with Saquon Barkley. Understandable. But then when you see him go and do what he did for the Eagles last year, yes, he's not having a great season this year, but you're still going to call him a top 5 running back in this league. You've got to. And then you look at the results this year. Big injuries to key guys. Scatterboo, Dart consistently. You don't even start Dart at the start of the season either. You start Wilson, and then it's like, oh, maybe we're going to put Jameis Winston in, which I've seen that work as well at the Steelers, and it doesn't. As much as Dart has made a very positive reaction on the field to this beginning of his career in New York, that isn't the way to go about it either, I don't feel. However, I do think that is a debate that could it's split amongst a lot of NFL fans whether you start them at the start and bring them in later on or let them sit for even longer, etc., etc. But I do agree with the both of you. Of this is, it's what does this spark? Is Mike Kafka going to be what I've just said a moment ago, an NFL savant where, you know, he's getting the best out of Jackson Dart right now, and yeah, he was doing really well with Malik Neighbors when he was playing, and with Cam Scatterby and scheming them to be successful. But the rest of their schedule, Packers, they're at the Lions, they're at the Patriots, they've got very late bye week. They host the Commanders, they host the Vikings, they are at the Raiders, they host the Cowboys. Well, that's 3 losses in a row for me. The Packers, the Lions, the Patriots. Okay, the Packers played awful last night, admittedly.
I was going to say, did you see us play last night? We can't score any points anywhere. What are you talking about?
But the Packers' defense is good enough to stop the Giants.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
like
but the
9-6.
problem is you can't get minus in NFL. That's the problem, you see, and so that's an issue for us at the moment.
But well, let's say they do beat the Packers and they get the wow factor bounce back. You're then at the Lions at the Patriots. You're losing them too. You are.
They're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
It's just
And then you have then the Commanders, the Vikings, the Raiders, the Cowboys. What, 1, 2 wins? I don't think they beat them. I think the Vikings could go down to the wire, but I think the Vikings defense can hold up the Giants. It's just I'm not sure about their offense in the minute. And then Cowboys, the way they're playing, I mean, that could be 54-45, or that could be any result anyone could ever think of. Like, you are never going to get a winning record firing him.
I just think that Adam sort of alluded to this before, but surely they've seen Ben Johnson come in and Caleb Williams and that happen, and Mike Vrabel come in and Drake May do this. So they obviously know there's something there with Jackson Dart. We can see that already. It only takes a small sample, I think, to know nowadays, because I know some people criticized Caleb last year. I wasn't one, but even with Drake May, we've all sat here and said that, you know, you can see when there's potential in a quarterback. So maybe the Giants are just kind of like, we don't want him to damage Jackson Dart. Let's just see how the season unfolds.
But that is a fair point, because the thing is what was happening is he was being put in situations because the head coach was desperate to try and win a game. And this is the problem when you start buggering about with having head coaches that are on the hot seat before the season has even started. And it's like, and you've got a rookie there, and you think, okay, well, we'll start with the veteran. He's, you know, hopefully he'll be all right. It all falls apart, and they go desperation, and you throw him in, and it's like, it's fine. You can't. I can't explain enough how most of the on-field problems come from off-field issues. They really do, and a lot of it is with some of these teams. I mean, I just. Bit of a side note, I've already started prepping some of the draft stuff and sort of like looking at some of the teams, and me and Andrew were, you know, I was looking at the Titans. My God, what a train wreck of an organization. I mean, just stupid decision after stupid decision, and doing things like this is exactly the same thing. The idea of keeping Shane and not getting rid of Daboll, getting rid of Daboll but keeping Shane, it doesn't make any sense. You need a complete clear out, and then what you need to do is you need to go, these are the guys that we're behind. We think they can do it, and then actually give them time to develop your brand new quarterback and see what can happen from it.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is Bears and Pats did keep their GMs, Ryan Poles and Elliot Wolf.
And I do think Joe Schoen has drafted some good. Like, look at their defense. Their defense is good. Like, but you know, it would take an idiot not to draft Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
At the time, Kayvon Thibodeau's played very well this year, and this has been his year to play well, because I think he very much was on the chopping block. But that was a no-brainer pick. Malik Neighbors was a no-brainer pick. Like that, it's not hard to pick good players when they're that good. You know, that's not that smart. I don't think it, you know, that doesn't take no genius. You know, it does take genius to get Cam Scatterby where you got him later down in the draft. You know, that does take some. So I don't think Joe Schoen's like completely out and dumb, but there's got to be some equal amount of blame here. And a big thing that I think Andrew always says is, why would you get rid of the coach when he's finally got his quarterback? After how Jackson Dart has played so far, you're not telling me that 20 teams in this league wouldn't take Jackson Dart now at this point. There is going to be a lot of coaches out there who are going to go, I will go to New York because Jackson Dart. There is going to be a lot of them. So Daboll might have got his guy with Jackson Dart, but there is a lot of coaches, I think, out there that we probably don't know as of yet, but will look at Dart and go, I'll have a piece of that and we'll go somewhere with this team.
I suppose his point is very much like, you've taken all this time to actually give the head coach an opportunity with the GM to go and draft a quarterback. It's the first time they were able to do it, and they do it, and then you fire him like 10 games in. Like, what are you doing? It's I think that it's a fair point, sort of thing, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense that you think that that's going to work, and just the constant chopping and changing, it just doesn't work. That's the problem, and that's where it's an issue. And I will be stunned if we're not here talking in 6 months, 8 months time, and Brian Daboll will have a job as an OC somewhere, because he's shown that he is decent and that he is capable. It's just not worked at the moment at the Giants. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't get another gig.
Yeah, he's a well-rounded coach. Obviously, he's on the Pat staff as well in the early 2000s. He had 1 year as a DC tight ends coach, assistant coach. Like, he's, well done in the league. I just think, like, I don't know. Obviously, and it's a shame again, like Fred said, Andrew's not here. The press conferences I see of Daboll, like, he's very like one of those sort of old school coaches who doesn't give you much, which is again something that doesn't help you in New York. And when I was mentioning about Drake May and Caleb Williams, like Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, they very much put your arm around your quarterback. We've seen the things with Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and I think naturally that's just how sport is now. We see it in football all the time. People like Mourinho, like, it doesn't work anymore because that style of man management is gone. So I think when you have a young quarterback now, it's like you've got to bring a coach in who can nurture that. So Kafka could be the guy. He's played the position. As you've both said, he's been on the radar. Like, maybe that's who you get to come in and nurture him, and then sort of he gets to choose his own coordinators and then see what happens.
Well, if you ask the opinion of one of our Eagles compatriots on this podcast, Gareth, he'd say we desperately need an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. So you never know, it might be the second time that someone from New York has gone down to Philadelphia in the space of 2 seasons. We should just have to wait and see on that. To the next topic. This is one's going to make Sky be incredibly smarmy and gleeful and smiley and all up himself.
So normal then, yeah?
So very normal, yes, incredibly. There is no change to his demeanor.
I'm waiting.
Buffalo got absolutely burnt in Miami. Absolutely burnt. They were terrible. I mean, it was 30-13 in the end, Miami, and the 13 was stat padding. It was a congratulatory. You got hit. You made it into the stadium because they got killed by Miami in a shocking defeat for Buffalo, which now puts your New England Patriots guy firmly at the top of the AFC East, 8-2, with Bills at 6-3, still in the race for a wild card spot at the moment. I'm just very, very puzzled by this team, Scott. I know for you're very happy that they're losing. It's looking like you guys are maybe going to win the division now. I mean, May's playing at an unreal level. But this Buffalo team isn't playing that bad either. 7th best offense, 9th best defense. Josh Allen last week we're talking about he's on an MVP level. I mean, what's going wrong here for Buffalo? It's not just this game. I think that's what we need to. It's not just this game. They've also lost to Atlanta, lost to the Patriots. They've had some sketchy moments throughout this season as well. What's going wrong there?
I just have to start by saying, because I said it to Shane, our good friend from the Irish NFL show, he picked Josh Allen as well. I said he wasn't the MVP, and then he went and dropped a stinker against one of the worst teams in the league. I bloody said it. It's either Drake May or Matthew Stafford, and I think that is, or Jonathan Taylor, but we won't go.
Yeah, I was going to say, it shouldn't be you.
Yeah,
it should be Taylor.
We know it should be Taylor, but quarterback-wise. So, yeah, thanks, Josh Allen. Clearly, he'd listened to me shitting on him, and he was like, I can't sleep, even though Haley Steinfeld's next to him. He thought, oh, my God, Sky Lawrence Pank, he's in my head. And he's absolutely done him. I mean, I think the thing for me is that, like, the Bills at this point of the season, well, in the last few years, the defense between almost like week 6 and 14 gets really strong, and then they get an injury around the playoffs. But their defense has just sort of like gone nowhere. What Achane was doing to them was like, he was having his way. It was weird. Josh Allen has a bit of a, I'm a massive fan of him. And at times he is the best quarterback in the league, but he has almost a bit of like a Superman complex, like with that fumble, almost tries to do too much. I know Kincaid went out and he's grown a bit more, but there still seems to be a bit of lack of rapport with Keon Coleman. I know he got a touchdown, but still, I just don't know how confident he is in his weapons. And I just think defensively, the unit is not as strong as it has been in the years gone by. Just, I don't even mean stats wise. I just mean looking at it. The teams that you said that have beaten them, you wouldn't have got that in other years gone by because they would just cakewalk them.
Well, you also look at it, and it is a little bit of, well, who have they actually played? Because they only beat the Ravens by a point in the opening game. Now it's the opening game. I always discount the opening game. It's the opening game. We never know. Like, that can just be a crazy week. One's always mental. They beat the Jets, obvious. They beat the Dolphins, obvious. They beat the Saints, obvious. They beat the Panthers, obvious. You beat the Chiefs, which they've beat consistently, the Chiefs in the regular season. We know they can beat the Chiefs in the regular season. It's the postseason they can never beat the Chiefs. And if they get to the postseason again, that question will be asked again. Can they overcome the Chiefs? Because that has become a narrative, much as Lamar not doing great in the playoffs and other narratives as such. But Adam, like, we know what we get with this Buffalo Bills team. There's a lot of Josh Allen. It's a lot of James Cook. And their defense, Sky was right. Devon Achane absolutely killed them. They're 31st in rushing touchdowns. They're 31st in rushing yards per average. They're 28th in rushing yards. However, on the back end, they're only 9th best defense because they're 3rd in passing yards. They're joint 3rd in passing touchdowns. They only conceded 9. So their secondary has been pretty solid this season. But rushing, anyone can run on them as it seems. And I'm sorry, to be a good playoff team, you need more than just the brilliant quarterback.
Yeah, I was going to say the problem is they can't stop the run. It's been the problem that they've had all season. And the thing is, it's all well and good saying that their secondary has been decent and they've got very good stats. But the thing is in reality, when you actually think about it, no one's throwing against them because they can just beat them through the ground. So they're not seeing as much action as what a normal team would, who would be able to stop the run. It is strange when you look at it that it does feel very much like, I don't know. It's a really weird one because very early on there was a lot of us going, they were 4-0, weren't they? And it was a little bit like, who's going to stop them? They were flying at the time, but they did have the problem against the run, and it has kind of come and bit them quite a few times now. And yeah, you cannot be a Super Bowl winning team and be so bad in one specific area like that, and so that they're not gonna get anywhere because of that. As you say, when you actually look at who they have beaten, there isn't a great deal there other than the Chiefs. And, a lot of us are coming out and saying, well, the Chiefs are not as good as what they used to be as well. So it's not amazing. They have got a much harder schedule for the next few weeks, which is going to be an issue for them. And I think I had a quick look because, as you know, I love to throw out a plug for free bets. And I did an article for them where it's the news one, and my one was on the Bills and this week. And it was a little bit like, the bet was, I was looking at their regular season wins. It's at 11.5 is what the over under is. And I went under because, I looked at it and I sort of thought, well, they only need to lose 3 games here. And it is a tough schedule, and it's going to be difficult, or it's not going to be difficult for them to lose 3 games for the rest of this season. And I just don't quite know. I feel like the run defense is appalling. The pass defense, okay, it looks good statistically, but in reality, how much action is it actually seeing? Yes, Josh Allen is. Look, he had a bad game. I think that's what it boils down to. He had a bad game, but most games he does really well and he looks great. The run game with James Cook looks decent. There's a lack of pass catching options of quality. I think Dalton Kincaid is okay, but he's not like, he's not a Trey McBride. He's not a Brock Bowers, but he looks all right. I
Well,
don't really think any of the wide receivers are brilliant, to be brutally honest.
This is my point a little bit with, you say just offense, and we're talking about defense as well. Really, what the big question is this team good enough to win the Super Bowl? And what you're telling me right now is no, not with the talent now. When we talk about the Lions, the Eagles, the Chiefs, these rosters, Rams, Seahawks, these rosters have they have 3 guys in every single position, and you've just named the best players: Josh Allen, James Cook, Ed Oliver. That's it. That's it. The rest of these teams have superstars. The rest of these teams, you talk about the Eagles, you can list 6 guys, 10 guys maybe actually, who are an elite, great level where you go, they're probably like top 10 in the league. Same with the Chiefs, same with the Seahawks, same with the Rams. They've got depth all over the place. And, they are put in the conversation every start of the season, Adam, aren't they? That they are a Super Bowl team. Not by my mark when you're talking about the other teams that are in there.
I mean, I had them down to get to the Super Bowl this year from the AFC side. I felt like they would progress, and it started off as though that's what had happened, and that it kind of all made sense. But it just kind of feels like I say, that they're so weak against the run. You just cannot get there if that's the problem. And I don't even really feel like they've had a massive injuries. Maybe I'm wrong and I haven't seen it, but to me, it doesn't feel like they've had a ton of injuries. And I just don't see where it changes. And like I say, this schedule that they've got coming up over these next few weeks, it's not easy. You're going up against some decent defenses here. That they've got the Buccaneers, who maybe not the greatest defense, but a solid one. The Texans, very good defense. Steelers defense is not what it was, but it still comes and it still has good playmakers on it. Patriots obviously are doing well at the moment. They're going to have to go up against the Eagles. That's 4 teams there.
The Browns as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Browns defense. It's just I think they overpower them like offensively. But yeah, I mean that's 4 teams or 5 teams if you want to include the Steelers as well, where you sort of think to yourself, they're going to be tough games to win. And when you're like, I had a look, and the last 5 years, the worst record they've had is 11-6. I genuinely think they could not hit 11 this year. I think they could be looking at 10 or even worse.
I've just been smirking. Sorry.
Well, no, that was going to be my point next, guy, really, is compared to your schedule, that looks very easy.
The easiest schedule that ever existed in the NFL, yeah.
Well, you are in slot position now to win this division. And then when you look at who's competing for the wildcard spots at the minute, you've got the Ravens. I mean, the Steelers are top at the minute, but that could easily split and fly. Same with Ravens there. You've got the Jags, you've got the Chargers, you've got the Chiefs. They're all trying to get top spots or at least wildcard spots. In comparison to them, to the Bills, do you believe some of these teams are better? And then the case comes if they don't get the playoffs, or even if they do and they're one and done it, is that Sean McDermott, the head coach, done?
If they were one and done, yeah, I think so. I know that's mad to say, but potentially, because the window is always open when you have a guy like Josh Allen, but on a year where Lamar's been hurt, Burrow's been hurt again, like we were saying, the Chiefs, people said they're not as good as they were. This is the year where the Bills should have sort of taken things within their grasp. The only thing I probably would say is, and everyone has their own narratives of what will happen in sport, but maybe having a bit of mid-season adversity is good if they can find a way to overcome it, as opposed to just, cakewalk in the division, stroll into the playoffs, a bit of overconfidence. Maybe losing to Miami is what they need. Sometimes it doesn't always need to be a loss, but the same with the Patriots only beating the Falcons by a point. Then you play Tampa. People say it's easy. Tampa a good side. Now we beat them. And now suddenly everyone sort of takes note. The Bills do have an opportunity to to go still on a run because they have Josh Allen. I know we've said they have a lot of tough opponents, but it only takes for my Patriots to drop one game, and then if the Bills beat us, we split the series at 1-1 and they're back in the hunt. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I do think that while no one will be talking about it now, if the Bills were one and done in the playoffs, I think there would be a serious question mark of like, well, Josh Allen's not the issue, so what do we do? Would be crazy though, wouldn't it, to think about that? But you don't want him to be a quarterback where you're wasting his prime years. And I think we're in that era now, especially when I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it, because even Justin Herbert and Bo Nix are in that category. But when Drake May has now emerged as a top elite quarterback, you've got people like Lamar Jackson, Burrow, and Allen thinking, oh, crap, am I ever going to get to a Super Bowl? And we've had those conversations before on the podcast. These guys could fall into that category. Josh Allen could be maybe even Aaron Rodgers 2.0, but without a ring. Who knows?
No, you're not wrong. I think when you look around the AFC and the quarterbacks that are coming in, you do start to scratch your head and go, well, will they ever? I know that they are definitely not on the back nine at all. They are definitely in the prime of their career, that sort of bracket of quarterback, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar. But yeah, you got Bo Nix, you got Drake May coming up. There's going to be ample opportunity. I know it's the Jets, but the Jets and Dolphins could look at quarterback. I mean, other AFC teams, CJ Stroud, still young and in his prime. Trevor Lawrence still might have a resurgence. I mean, you got we don't know what will happen to all these teams, do we? Really, we don't know what next quarterback might come in and be sort of the next phase of it. And you do start to scratch your head when when the Chiefs have been dominant for so long. This is the problem when you have an AFC Patriots who have been dominant for so long, and then you get the Chiefs who are dominant for so long. Suddenly you go, well, actually, they never really got there, or when they did get there, they didn't really stake their opportunity and win it all. I mean, Burrow has been there, but he lost. Herbert's never been there. Lamar's never been there. Josh Allen's never been there. And these are all guys who we feel like will retire in their careers with at least one ring, maybe even two. But every year, I think we've gone from Daboll, who's getting kicked out the door after a load of years and it's mid-season, to McDermott, who's taken them to 2 AFC championships, has consistently had winning seasons, but just can't seem to get them over the line, Adam. Like, do you think there is a danger?
I think there is. I think come the end of the season, if it doesn't happen again, you end up in that sort of position where it's like, well, is this guy ever going to get us over the line? It does feel a little bit like that. Like you say, it's not going to be Josh Allen that's going to take the blame, is it? So it's that thing where it's almost like, what do you do? I could see them coming at it from a point of view that maybe a fresh approach might do something different and get them over the line. I don't think McDermott's a bad coach. I think he's done pretty well for the Bills over the years, and he's part of the reason that Josh Allen has become the player that he is, kind of thing. So you can't sort of just go, oh, it was all Brian Daboll in Buffalo at the time. I'm sure that McDermott was part of it as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that he's probably, it's difficult, and he probably deserves time. And he deserves to be able to turn the things around, because realistically, this is probably the first year that you would argue that things have gone slightly awry. But I think that they might look at it and go, this is a guy who's been here for a really, really long time. It's not working. It hasn't worked at the moment. It feels like we're getting further away than getting closer. And we need to move on and make a change.
Well, here's to next Monday morning, all of us going how much we overreacted to the Bills losing one game. But I think it's a conversation that has to be had. There's going to be a conversation in the building when it comes to them sort of games. Let's close out the show with a more positive, I suppose, note, because there is a team that just seems to not say, I quit. And it's very much a mantra of the coach, Jim Harbaugh, and that is the LA Chargers. I mean, despite multiple injuries to really key personnel, they are putting up a fight and winning games. I mean, they beat my Steelers 25-10, handedly beat us as well. I won't say it wasn't It wasn't a close game at all, by no means. LA played really, really well. And when you look at their injuries at the minute, Sky, I mean, geez Louise. I mean, this is just injury reserve. Some of these guys are out for the season, but Joe Ol, Rashawn Slater, that's your right tackle, your star right tackle, your start left tackle out. And Marion Hampton, your star new rookie running back. Najee Harris, the backup. Deshaun Hand, Hassan Haskins, the third string running back. Jordan Oloakun. I mean, they have been really hit over the head with the injury bug this season. It feels a little bit like Detroit last year, where it was just like every week someone's going down. You're like, how are they going to get over this adversity? Well, they keep doing it. They're on a 3-game win streak. They beat Minnesota, then Tennessee, now Pittsburgh. They go to Jacksonville before their bye week in week 12. I mean, they seem to just not say, we're dying out here. I quit. We can't do this. They seem to keep going.
Yeah, and Harbaugh was a bit irate, wasn't he? Because someone on your team body slammed a receiver, and Herbert took them some hits, and
I can't remember who it was though.
I've gone blank as well. But yeah, I remember seeing that. I think that, but again, you know what we're saying about, like, I know he's not a new coach, what I was saying about, but neither is Mike Vrabel. I think he just has a personality to coach up guys, and that thing to just still instill the team mentality and be like, next man up. I know that's cliche, but not every franchise buys into that. And it also helps when you're a guy. Yes, he didn't win that Super Bowl against his brother, but still he won the, college championship with Michigan. He's a guy who's a known winner. So I think when people go down, it's still, next man up, we'll make this happen. And to be honest, he loves Justin Herbert that much. Deep down, he probably knows, while I've got Justin Herbert, I've got a chance, because look what I've done with this guy already. And finally getting his potential out of him. And yeah, I was actually probably a bit more disappointed in, I thought you guys the Steelers put up a better fight given what happened against Indy, but yeah, I don't know. The Chargers are a bit like a cat at the moment, aren't they? I mean, I think their 9 lives will probably run out come the playoffs, because, like you said with the Lions, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl when you're that banged up, unfortunately. But look, they make the playoffs and even get 1 win under their belt. No matter what happens, they probably look at next season and go, right, if we're healthy, we've got something here. We've built something. And I think whether you're a fan of the Chargers or not, we've all spoke highly of Justin Herbert on the podcast. I think it's just nice to see that, especially for, not being disrespectful to fans in that region in LA, but it's a franchise that probably needs to win to stay relevant, and that's why we'll probably see them in the international scene next year. And surprised they weren't here, in this season. So it's good what he's doing, and yeah, even guys like Vidal. I know we look at that from a fantasy perspective. We don't talk about the O-line and stuff like that, but they could have gone and traded for a running back, and they didn't. So it just shows the confidence he has in each group on his roster, regardless of who gets hurt.
And because of the injuries, he's had to diversify, hasn't it? I mean, we've all known Harbaugh for being tough defense, big running game. Well, at the minute, they're the 8th best offense, and they're 3rd in passing yards and 3rd in passing touchdowns, quite simply because they have no one who can run the ball. And Vidal's come out and been a decent runner, but he's been knocked up a few times as well.
Yeah.
That's why they're only, the 9th in rushing yards, but 26th in rushing touchdowns. Obviously, them rushing yard stats are helped by the fact that Justin Herbert's so agile on his feet as well. And then the 11th best defense at the minute. I mean, they're doing better in the passing game than they are in the rushing game. Again, that might be a little bit like the Bills argument, Adam, that you had, where, well, we know we can rush on them better. We won't throw on them then. But, it's credit to this team and to Herbert and to the coaching staff for they are okay. They have their fundamentals and their, sort of philosophies of how they play the game, but they go, well, we're going to have to diversify. We're going to have to change things up because, when we've got this amount of guys out, we just can't run our game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing amazing at it. They really are. I mean, it is ridiculous how many injuries this team have had. And like you say, the game plan, I think what you've got here is you've got a team that has the ability to run the ball, and Justin Herbert rushing as well. That's something that we haven't seen before, and is a huge improvement, because it really does open everything up when your quarterback does become that rushing quarterback as well. So I think having the ability to run the ball with guys who are not your first choice, the ability to have Justin Herbert run the ball. The one good thing that they have had, and they haven't had any real injuries in the pass catching options. And I think that's something that if they started losing some of them guys as well, then I think we would see a different story happening. So, you've got Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson. Aronde Gadsden has looked great for them. All of these guys have done really, really well. And so I think that makes a big factor. A lot of these O-line guys, they're not their top guys. I mean, there's very few teams that would be able to cope with losing Joel and Rashawn Slater, and yet they are doing all right with it. They're not as good, obviously, as what they would be with them there, but they're doing pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, I think overall it's just sort of like it's still going, and the offense is still sort of trundling along and still working. I kind of agree with what Sky says. I think eventually what will happen is it will end up being one step too far at some point, probably in the playoffs, because you can't just get away with it this many times. Eventually,
do you honestly think they will make the playoffs, though? Do you honestly think they will? I mean,
I think they'll make the playoffs.
They're one below 8-2 Denver, and then Kansas City at 5-4. I mean, if there was ever a year where they need everyone healthy and they could really push to win the division, this year was that, because even though Denver are 8-2, Denver have been incredibly inconsistent.
I agree. I think they've got a good chance of making the playoffs. I don't know if they will necessarily win the division, because somehow Denver just seem to keep eking out these wins. I'm not quite sure how they're doing it sometimes, because their offense is at certain games has been non-existent, and yet they still get the wins. So I think that they will get there eventually, and they will get in the playoffs. But I think they're going to end up coming up against a team that might just overpower them because they've just lost too many players.
It's a tough old schedule, this guy. They're at Jacksonville, then they've got the bye week, then they host the Raiders, host the Eagles, at Kansas City, at Dallas, host the Texans, and then at Denver. I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule to close out the year with this many injuries now.
Yeah, when I hear that out loud, if Eagles, I mean, Cowboys on, do you say Cowboys on the road? I mean, Justin Herbert, is that on the road?
Yeah.
Indoors, their defense will probably win that. Jags are hit and miss. Like I said, Texans tough. Raiders divisional game, you don't know. Eagles are the Eagles. But I mean, this I'm not just saying it because I feel like people say this every year, but genuinely, this is the year where it's just so open. Like, it's just so tough to pick. I don't think there is any front runner in either conference. I think you can make cases for teams. We're talking about a year where the Chiefs are not even in, a playoff spot at the moment. The Ravens are still coming. Like, it's wide open. But yeah, stating slightly the obvious, but it probably will come down to those, especially in a division like that with the Broncos, Chiefs, and Chargers. Those divisional matchups mean even more. It's a bit different when you're the Jags and the Texans, and you're probably one of you is going to get in maybe with like 9 wins. But for those other 3 teams over in the West, it's going to be tough, and it's going to mean more when they match up against one another. And even this weekend, we've got Broncos, Chiefs. Chargers then win this week against the Jags, and then one of their rivals lose. It opens up for them.
Do you think if they end up winning the division, that Coach Harbaugh gets Coach of the Year?
Yeah, none of us mentioned it, Matt. Actually, that's a good shout. I mean,
because of the amount of injuries,
he could probably still be Steichen because he's got Indiana Jones as his quarterback, but if the Chargers won the division, and I think they're only a game behind the Colts, Fred. I mean, if they would win the division, you might say they might end up a 1 seed.
That's what I mean. I just think it's such a testament to his coach. We knew when he came back to the main league, Jim Harbaugh, that he would build a formidable team and he's probably going to be a winner, and that it was the right hire. But it's the adversity that I think builds the coach. And, we've talked about the adversity of 2 coaches tonight, in Brian Daboll and in Sean McDermott. And with Jim Harbaugh, the adversity, he is not phasing him at all. And he's just going from strength to strength, even when he's got some of his top guys out. And I think it just says to me that in the future of this LA Chargers team, I genuinely believe that they could have the 1 seed in years to come. They in the next 2-3 years, they could reasonably compete to be the 1 seed in the AFC, win this division, win. I mean, they went 11. They went 11-6 last year. I don't think they'll make 11-6 this year, to be honest with you, because of just the injuries and the competition that they're coming up against. But I can see them getting 13-14 wins in the next 2 or 3 years.
It's such a good division. It's probably, I mean, thinking off the top of my head, probably the division with the best group of coaches, considering you've got Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Super Bowl winners, Andy Reid, and what Harbaugh's done in his career. You know,
it feels like this is the 2005 league.
It's madness. But yeah, I think you're right, because I mean, Bo Nix, as much as there's talent there, Sean Payton can be a frustrated guy. Andy Reid, how long does he have left? There's things every year. Once Kelsey retires, and there's that. I think Harbaugh's in it for the long haul. I think we know he came to LA because of Justin Herbert. And yeah, probably they're going to be a contender for a while. I just sort of, you just hope, again, we're going back to what we said before. It's again with windows and opportunities in sport. I think he's at least a coach who took time away from the league after losing a Super Bowl to realize, I want to come back, and it needs to happen almost like now. And when I mean now, I mean within like the next 4 years. I think some of these coaches, like your Sean McDermott's, they don't realize, or Zach Taylor's, like, you've had your chance. You made a Super Bowl. You might not make it back. Commanders have found that out this year. They made an NFC title game. Look at the season they're having. Like, it's not that easy. And that's why I love Dan Campbell. When they lost that NFC title game to the Niners, he said he was so upset because he didn't know if you're going to get back there. But that's why having a guy like Harbaugh, I think you're always within a chance of building a deep roster that's going to keep you contending for years, as opposed to just like win now.
And I think there might have been an element of wanting the exact situation.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to leave Michigan, I want to be in a very particular situation with a particular quarterback in a particular system in a particular way. And let's face it, he has a lot of gravitas in that building. You know, I don't think much gets done without Harbaugh's input. Would you agree with that, Adam? I can't imagine. Is it Tom Telesco, the GM there? I'm pretty sure it's Tom Telesco.
Did he go back there?
I could be wrong.
Go
on, you'll find it faster than I will.
Joe Ortiz.
Tom Telesco's the GM. Well, no, he's not even.
He went to the Raiders. He was at the Chargers for like 10 years, and then he went to the Raiders. And
he went to gamble for a weekend and switch jobs.
Yeah. Joe Ortiz is the general manager. So I think it must be what his first year or second year?
So this is his second year. So he's coming at the exact same time.
So he came in with Harbaugh.
Yeah, I assume.
What a full circle callback moment.
I'll say nothing. I would just let my.
I know we're going just on that point before Adam says it. When I was saying about Elliott Wolf and Ryan Poles in the Bears and the Pats, again, I think with New York, maybe they do in a way need to follow what the Chargers did, just because of the city it's in. But then saying, does anyone even do anything in LA? Do they even watch the NFL in LA? What are they doing in LA? Move back to San Diego.
Well, they consistently, every time they play, it seems to be overwhelmingly more away fans than home fans, which I just don't understand. Then again,
because of the Rams.
They need to bring them here or send them to like the Rams are going to Australia. That is smart. You've got to build the brand outside of LA, because
the problem was when the Rams went all in, didn't they?
Yeah.
And basically took the market when they won the Super Bowl. And then that was the end of it. So that's why
there's no charge. They got Herbert and Harbaugh, because honestly, otherwise you're looking at it thinking, well, why did you move them? In a way,
yeah.
I think that'll always be an underlying tone. I can imagine
the London Chargers.
Adam, go on. Sorry,
London Chargers.
London Chargers. Sky, Adam, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thank you all for watching or for listening to this podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms as well, every podcast platform we are on. Thank you again, and we'll see you all again very soon.